What is going on, everybody? It's a good time to feel alive. Good time to feel alive. A good time to feel to be right in the seat where I need to be. I've missed y'all. It's been a month. It's been a month since we've done Art Meets Life. So why not bring it back every first Friday like we always do? So real quick, if you haven't done so, by all means, grab yourself something to snack on. Grab you something to drink. I have a full throttle because it's been a long couple of days. So I have been anticipating this day to be with y'all and to hear some great poems. Because if you guys don't know, what month is it? It's a lot of things this month, but particularly for us poets, it's National Poetry Month. What's going on, everybody? My name is LJ Barnes, and thank you for coming to this edition of Art Meets Life. And I'm very thankful for you guys to be here. I'm your host, LJ Bowens, spoken word artist, host. I do a lot of stuff, but as always, I'm the host of this wonderful event. So it is good to see all you folks. What's going on? Addie, all the way from Wilmington. Also, Cheyenne, what's up? What's up? What's up? Also, we got Mr. Spirit Wolf. What's going on, Spirit Wolf? Hope you're doing well. And we also got Joe Mayo, the man, the myth, the legend. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I am excited. I'm always excited for this month for a lot of personal reasons. One, as an artist, as a writer, as a poet, it's always a great thing to do National Poetry Month. So you guys are familiar with National Poetry Month. National Poetry Month is pretty much the month dedicated to poetry. And for a lot of poets, we have this challenge that we do where we take the 30 days and we write 30 poems for 30 days. Some people take the challenge, some people don't take the challenge. I would tell y'all myself, this year I did not take the challenge. Only it's for two reasons. So one, it's because number one, this is one of the busiest Aprils I've had in some years where it comes to doing events. So I know I would not have the time dedicated to craft up a poem. And two, for those that know, they know from last year. But for those that don't know, I literally wrote 90 poems last year for the month of April. I did 30 that I put on Facebook. I did 36 word stories that I did on Instagram. And then there was a group that I was with, and I did 30 poems with them. So that's like literally 90 poems. I'm good. I can relax a little bit. I feel I've earned the right to relax from doing a poem for this time around. So, but it's National Poetry Month. So this particular month, we didn't get a feature because I wanted to dedicate this month to poetry, the appreciation of poetry, and to have some of the poets up here just come up and do their poems. Or even if they're not doing their original poems, they can do poems from other poets as long as they give them the credit. So for the artists that we do have signed up for today, you can do up to 3 poems if you choose to do up to 3 poems. They can be all your original work. They can be 2 of your original works and 1 poem that's from somebody else that you admire. Or you can just do a whole set with just poets that you appreciate. I mean, it's perfectly fine. All we ask is that you just give them the credit. But we definitely want to make sure that tonight was dedicated to poetry and to the poetry lovers. So that's why we're here. And I'm excited. I'm excited. Even myself, I'm going to do poems in between people. So I'll be doing poems like one. I'm doing like maybe 4 poems, but it's going to be like 1 poem. And what I decided to do as far as doing poems, I am going to read poems. So the first thing, and I'm not going to start off with these. So as you guys know, I am an author. So I'll be reading a poem from 1 poem from 310, 1 poem from Blurred Lines, and 1 poem from Anywhere But Here. I know it's a glare, so I apologize if y'all can't see everything, but I'll be reading a poem from each of those books. But what I'm going to start off with is I'm going to read something from a friend's book, and I just felt it was right. And this is a poet that I appreciate. Now, I met him a long, long time ago, back when I first started doing a lot of stuff here in the Fayetteville poetry scene. And back when I used to work with an A&R, as an A&R for an online magazine known as IREP, we put together this big slam that brought out poets not only from Fayetteville, from across the state. And he was one of the poets I heard about and who I met. And he goes by the name of Tavis Brunson. And a few years back, he passed away. And still to this day, a lot of people feel that in the poetry community because of such a beautiful writer he was, but the beautiful friend, the beautiful man that he was still is to this day, the spirit that he has. And like you miss that spirit. So what I'm going to do to kick this off is I'm going to read I can't do his poems justice. So what I wanted to do was he had a book come out, his last official book known as Love Tatters. And in the book, along with poems, he has a collection of what's known as Little Love Stories, hashtag LILLOVE stories. And what I wanted to do was read three of his Little Love stories to kick off the open mic for everybody before we bring up our first artist. So, and by all means, I'm going to give y'all a link so y'all can check this book out because this is a fantastic book. And definitely, I want y'all to support not only poetry, but support the legacy of Tavis Brunson. So, um, this is number 117 of Little Love Stories. Little Love Stories. Number 117. To whom it may concern, you are beautiful. You are more than good enough. Your smile is the prettiest thing you have. Wear it often. God has not forgotten about you. He's forgiving you for every time you forgot about him. Think about every day you didn't think you'd make it. You're still here. Say I love you in the mirror over and over again until you believe it. Then keep saying while wearing that smile, be brave. So that's the first one. Little Love Story 118. Me. Ask me if I believe in love. Her. Do you believe in love? Me. No, but I believe in us, so I'm getting there. And that was 118. And this is Little Love Story 119. Breathe, remember, cry, sleep, love, call, listen, laugh, laugh, laugh. I don't have to tell you to hurt or be depressed or to sit there and stare at your phone, but reach a little, just a little. You'll see it gets easier and breathe. That's the hard part. So those are Little Love Stories 117, 118, and 119 from Love Tavis from Tavis P. Brunson. I encourage everybody to get this book. It is a phenomenal book. Please, by all means, grab this book. You do not want to not have this book in your collection. And to buy this book and support the legacy of Tavis Brunson, you can go to Amazon and you can buy the book Love Tavis at www.amazon.com. Once again, you can buy the book Love Tavis at www.amazon.com. So, without further ado, we are about to bring up our first guest. It looks like we got a packed house with a lot of love in the building. So, we're going to go ahead and get this thing going. So, your first guest getting ready to come up. She is a phenomenal youth. I believe I heard her poems a few times, and I definitely enjoy her work. I ain't gonna say I believe I heard her poems. I know I heard her poems. See, that's how you know the old age is catching up. If y'all can see, I got a couple of grades right here. But without further ado, we're going to bring up our first open mic artist, the one, the only Liz Jolene. Woo! What's going on, Liz?
I'm doing good.
Yes, I can tell. Did you get a haircut, or you got your hair like to the?
Oh no, it's in a ponytail.
Okay, tell because the headphones is like covering everything back there. You know what? I'm gonna be quiet. I'm just gonna let you go ahead and do
I'm
your
going
poem.
to, yeah, I'm going to do two poems tonight.
Okay, cool. Do your two poems, and then I'm gonna have some questions for you when you're done. Okay.
Okay.
All right. The floor is yours.
The first one is called Fade Away. Crash and burn, I'm gonna fly away. I don't wanna break, I don't want to fall. I just want to run to the light. I didn't mean to break away into the dust like that. I know I promised that I wouldn't break and fall, but now I'm in the ground looking at all I've done. But that what makes pain into pain, and that what makes loneliness into loneliness. She whispered into my ear as I get back up and run into the light. To most people, I won't be anything. My anxiety is running back and forth like a car in a race. But I won't let them take me away like that ever again. I have to swear to myself I'm here to stay and not to go anywhere else. I don't want to fade away like I did before. I want to be more than what I used to be. I want to let my truth inside of me and never let it go ever again. I'm not going to fade away anymore. I'm going to soar into the light like a tiger in the forest. I'm not ever going to fade away. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to stay and stay as myself. The second poem I'm doing is called Cough Syrup. Always start running without thinking head on first, only giving little by little to myself. I end up lying so much that I get caught up in my web of lies. Always, always hid my truth away from myself to cover up my true identity. Hidden in plain sight, could it be found anywhere? Endless nights of crying and getting infuriated because nothing ain't making any sense to me anymore. I always showed up in my own life as someone else. I never know who I'll be next. I always try to be everything like you that I lost sight of myself, running away all the time, hiding out in secret, and never said a word. I was trying too hard to feel someone else's high that I never realized who I really was. I used to lie to myself so much that I got used to it, but it ain't the best truth filler though. So I'm having to cough syrup, need to drink this down so I can get a sense of myself. I can't keep running with the fake lies anymore. Hiding in plain sight gets me nowhere. So let me drink this cough syrup down without hesitation. I need to find myself through this messed up wonderland. So I gotta drink this cough syrup like it's medicine for the body. Thank you.
Woo! Good job, Liz. Good job. Good job. I always love the energy you bring when you do your poems. So, like I told the poets backstage before the show started, because one, we don't have a feature, but I figured we could take this time and just get some perspective as far as like asking poets about poetry. I mean, you write poetry; it's National Poetry Month, so why not pick their brain a little bit? So Liz, what's the major thing that you love about creating poems and just poetry in general? Like, what is it that makes you come back to wanting to write? What makes you just love poetry as a whole?
I love poetry because I'm able to express myself in ways I can't in conversations. And I love that I'm able to be passionate about it, and it gets me away from life when I'm not able to express myself.
Okay, so this is always a hard question to ask poets, but I like picking their brain because we can always change it in any given moment. Um, if you who what would you say is probably one of your favorite poems you heard, and who would you consider one of your top poets to listen to or read?
I don't know if she counts as a poet, but Halsey, she has a poetry book, and I've been reading it, and she's just a really great poet. Yeah, I love
That's,
some of her.
that's a poem, yeah. Like, so the crazy thing is, like I tell everybody, with musicians, with writers in general, I always look at when they're in their writing books, or even if they have like their poetry, they write poetry books. But even when they start off writing like their lyrics, like lyrics is a style of poetry. So
Yeah,
technically it's like so she's a poet regardless of what you say before you put music to it. So
yeah,
yeah, she comes a poet. I want you to feel like she does it. So you good. I mean, that's what you feel. That's what you feel. That's a great enough. That's a good answer. So that's one and the same. So you like her poetry and you like her as like your
yeah. I love
so,
her music and her poetry.
okay. So what would be I guess one of your favorite poems or I guess
Oh,
lyrics from her?
um, Likely as the Rain is one of my favorite poems by her. I
Nice.
have the book.
That I definitely that's what I love. Well, Liz, as always, my Art Meets Life is always a home to everybody comes here, and you've been. I think this is your second time here, so by all means, please keep coming back. And when we get it back open publicly and build a space, I hopefully will see you there in the space as well.
You
Um,
will.
I'll make Joe Mayo make sure he drag y'all out. So just let y'all know. But thank you so much, Liz. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. Anytime. All right, guys. It's a show starting off good already. So, like I said, in the midst of all of this, I will read a poem in between each person. So I will grab another book. So I guess we will go with let's go with the nerd one. So this particular book I'm reading is called Blurred Lines. This was like the second chat book I came out with. I came out with this chat book in 2018. And when I came out with the chat book, it was based off an idea of a friend saying, you know what, you should do nerd poems. And I wrote a chat book with nothing but nerd poems from the perspective of, taking nerd stuff and putting it in real time situations. So if you're a nerd and all that good stuff, then you will like these poems. And if you're not, then probably still like these poems. So, so what I'm going to do, this is also going to be some short writing. So what I'm going to do is I made a section called Nerd Haikus and Other Ramblings. So these are all haikus, and I guess it would be best to preface where each haiku comes from. So I'll say like the title, like, and then I'll do the haiku from there. So Nerd Haikus and Other Ramblings from the book Blurred Lines. My Hero Academia. Academia. Once full of heroes, but now bullets roam the halls. Dragon Ball Z. Haiku. When fathers disappear, real men will fill in their space. Just as Piccolo. From the anime known as Death Note. If Death Note was real, then Ryuk would be upset that Trump holds the book. From the DC universe based off Wonder Woman. Man tries to harm girl. Didn't realize she possessed Amazon's bloodline. Last haiku comes from the game known as Final Fantasy III, even though it's Final Fantasy, no fact, we'll talk about something else. It's actually Final Fantasy IV, but it's part 2, so in America. So based off of Final Fantasy IV. Kane jumped the bad guys by himself. His final fantasy was denied. Thank you. And those are haikus and other nerd haikus and other remnants from the book Blurred Lines. And I will tell y'all where y'all get all these books from later, because it's not about me, it's just about poetry. So, moving right along, your next guest getting ready to come up here on the stage. This brother is one of the members from the Detour Slam team. He is awesome in his own right. He is a phenomenal poet. He was trending at one point when Lizzo shared his video, and he also, because he always try to be modest, he just recently featured in the LA Times. So without further ado, please put your hands together for the one and only Nick Corman.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know what to say about you, sir. How are you doing today?
Oh, brother, I'm feeling very good. I'm feeling very good today. Feeling very good.
You should feel good. You should feel very, very good. It is awesome to feel good. I appreciate that. So, as always, I'm going to have questions for you later, but I'm going to go ahead and get myself off of here because at this time, the floor is now yours.
Yeah. Happy National Poetry Month, y'all. Cool. So I'm gonna do 2 poems. The first one is not mine. It is going to be from the great Langston Hughes. When I was in high school, I did this awesome competition called Poetry Out Loud, where we got to recite poetry and such from selected poets. And Langston Hughes was one of my selected poets because I mean, hey, why not? And then I'm gonna do an original piece. So this first one is I Too by Langston Hughes. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and I eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. That was Langston Hughes. Clap up the good brother Langston Hughes. Cool, cool, cool. And this next one is me. I don't play pro basketball in New York, but yes, my name is Nick. I love poetry and drop jewels like I'm fumbling vaporized nicotine sticks. I try to drop knowledge like dimes drop from Stockton or Magic. So you can either have a penny for your thoughts or for the one that used to run point for the magic. They call me an outlet because my words are a source of power. They call me an outlet because if I let you shop around in my mind, you wander and be lost in there for hours. Sometimes these women have me caught up like track 7 on Confessions, but unlike racist white women, ain't nobody caring. The thought of being in love is enough to disrupt my cardiac cycle because these women have my heart aching like Clay when he lost to Ruben on American Idol. I have Foot Locker taste, but I can't do better than pay less. And y'all might as well call me Skip because the brother is Bayless. From Gil Scott to the last poets, I'm a fiend for the classics. I'm a slave to the spoken word, but without it, I couldn't manage this. Pen is massa, and it dictates how I speak to the masses. And I got writer's block. I'm trying to finish this line, so I guess I got stuck in the middle passage. But should the system make me a political prisoner and turn me into a slave, hopefully y'all will put some money on my books like you're checking on at Barnes & Noble or you're betting on a game of spades. But truly, I'm just trying to make my mama proud like Trudy. And it's hard to make a penny when so many look on you with envy because sometimes our biggest haters are the ones who act friendly and pass us the Henny. And I'm sure you know plenty who claim to be ride or dies, and the switch up is no surprise. They claim to keep it 100, but 50% of what they say is BS, and the other 50% they say is lies. Then their actions become deceiving because the first ones to cut you are usually the first ones to ask you why you're bleeding. People will con their way into your heart, and that's just how life goes. Because you don't always need a dry erase marker for some folks to get exposed. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Y'all have been a wonderful virtual audience. The best one that I've had all day. Oh, man.
So this ain't one of the questions I was going to ask, but the best virtual audience you had all day. How many audience have you had today virtually?
This is the only one.
Oh my God. So yeah, you have people telling you that they loving you, Nick.
I love y'all. I love y'all.
I despise you. I'm playing. I don't despise him. I don't despise him at all. So Nick has been one of the many poets I've had the privilege of working with, and somewhat. I'm not saying I do mentor him. I somewhat help him, and he helps me in cases. So I can honestly say that. So
this time he mentors me.
I do this with you. All right. So kind of the same question I asked Liz earlier. So what's one of the things that being National Poetry Month, loving poem and everything, what's one of the reasons like you took poetry and like almost embodied it? Like, so what makes poetry that thing you love, like that thing that you feel like you can't live without doing in a sense?
Man, I mean, it's like I think about like how I used to hate poetry, up until like I like loved it. and it's all about like the presentation of poetry to me. It's like when it was introduced to me the first time, it was not introduced like in a good. It was not packaged very well at all. Like it's kind of like getting Kool-Aid for the first time from somebody who doesn't really put sugar in their Kool-Aid. You know what I'm saying? They give you that like super diabetic or super gentrified Kool-Aid, and you like, man, I hate Kool-Aid. Like this is the worst stuff ever. And then when you and then when somebody gives you that good stuff, the diabetes all in, you got a big old lump of sugar in the bottom of the pitcher, like the good Kool-Aid, you like, oh yeah, this is what I've been missing on. Whatever was presented to me the first time, I didn't want it. That won't Kool-Aid. So that's how I really felt about poetry, so it just makes me think about how my older brother showed it to me and presented it in a way that when I was in school earlier that year, they didn't do that at all. You know what I'm saying? So I just think about what poetry has done for me, and I want to be able to present the art form in a way that it does justice to the art form, but it also brings an outside ear into a whole beautiful it's like Alice in Wonderland. It's just like, oh man, I didn't know it went that deep.
I love that. I love that answer. It's funny and ironic because I know you said you did like a project where you had read like Langston Hughes for Poetry Out Loud. It's funny how even at the time when you probably do something with poetry, you don't know it's going to affect you in the sense of make you want to do something. Because like with me in third grade, I remember it to this day. Like I knew nothing of poetry in third grade, but I remember there was a Black History Month project when I first started going to my elementary school called Whittier, and out of all the people that I had to pick when I first moved there in order to like dress up and talk about, I picked Langston Hughes, not even knowing nothing about him. And then from there, my teacher actually got me into writing. So it's like funny how things like that happen. So with that being said, and you being a poet, and there's always tons of poems, there's always tons of poets. Like who would you consider one of your favorite poets, and what would be like one of your go-to poems? Like you can listen to it any day, every day, and wouldn't have no issue. Like if it just came on the radio, you just still sit listen to it.
Oh man, man, my guy Black Chakra, man. Oh my goodness, that's my guy. I mean, really, everything everything he writes, I'm like, wow. I listen to it like over and over and over and over again, and then I listen to it again. Man, it's kind of like I don't even know if I got a favorite Black Chakra piece, man. It's just they all just so. I'm like, wow. How do you outdo yourself when you just outdid yourself again? I'm LJ.
Black Chakra fell. But he featured. He actually featured last year on.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
There.
Black Chakra is definitely one of the top writers. Definitely one of the top slam poets too. In this country, like plain and simple. You can't even say that. No, Black Chakra, not Black Chocolate. Hey, shout out to Doo Wop. Doo Wop is one of the premier poets out of Ohio. I got to share some love. Black Chakra, Doo Wop.
CHAKRA.
Oh, that was awesome. This is all being live stream and recorded. So I'm gonna make sure I look back at this video later. So I know you still gonna be in the building, Nick, but definitely thank you so much for sharing your work as always. And real quick, because I know people always ask two things. One, where can they find you at as far as on the interwebs? And two, you are also a published author, so tell them also about your book and where they can find your book.
Yes, I have a book. It's called For the Love Of. It is available on barnesandnoble.com, but you can find the link to my book and more on my website, www.n as in Nick, D as in dog, C as in cat, poetry, ndcpoetry.com. That's www.ndcpoetry.com. That's www.ndcpoetry.com. Okay. Hey, man, get me off the screen, man.
I'm just letting you enjoy the moment, man. It's natural poetry, but thank you so much. Thank you so much, bro. We're going to talk soon.
Oh, definitely.
All right, later. So, yeah, that was Nick Corman, a member of the Detroit Slam team, also a part-time comedian. And on the weekends, if you need him, he also does hair. So make sure y'all reach out to him at www.ndcpoetry.com. Once again, that's www.ndcpoetry.com. So, with that being, yes, Nick always act the fool. Shout out to everybody that's jumping in the room as well. We got Nadi coming all the way from Germany. What's going on, Nadi Sunshine? She hosts an amazing show known as Nadi's Corner. Definitely, if y'all can tune into that show, it's every Sunday at 1 p.m. EST, and you can definitely find that show at rmp-de.fm. I will definitely put that information up later. But definitely follow her movement. She's been she does dope interviews, and it's awesome to hear her do her interviews because she interviews you in English and then she translates it in German when she's done. Like it's so dope. You gotta listen to the show. I can't me talking about it won't do it no justice. You have to listen to it. So before we go to the next poet, as promised, I'm going to read me another poem. I also want to give a shout out to some family. When I mean family, I mean my literal blood family. My cousin Sharonda Powell Canty is in here. Hey, cousin, coming all the way from Detroit, Michigan. And also my mom's here. Hey, mom. That's my mom right there, y'all. I'm sorry I'm being a big kid right now because I turn into a baby every time I get a chance to talk to my mom. I love you, mama. So happy National Poetry Month. So one day I'll get my mom up here to do a poem. So with that being said, I am going to read for you guys another poem. And this will be poem number 3. And this poem will come from the first chapbook I wrote by myself called Anywhere But Here. So it's going to come from this book. And I'm going to read a poem from this book. So the unique thing about this particular poem is this poem actually started from a writing prompt, and the prompt was to write a poem using words that does not contain the letter E. Like the poem, like so you have to write a whole poem, and there cannot be any E words in the poem whatsoever. So, so this poem from the Anywhere But Here chapbook. This poem is called My Country Story minus E. My country has a story that folks know thoroughly. Its narrator is a race that haunts what is known as this nation's fantasy. Gawk at its patriotism and show disgust on anything but. Land of a familiar scoop and gossip. An old saw or lips conjuring up durability to run on its own bullshit. What's important to know right now is that the topic has pupils skim at it, without a word wanting to pry into its truth. Could stand as doubtful, as if a construct to this plan was not in rotation during the duration of God's watch. USA has a way of pipping words to sound so alluring, don't you think? Too many thoughts go by during midnight's calling. Howls of man gallop in air. A grin shows on a young girl's mask as discomfort sits within it. You would think that ignoring cat calls would show a door to go out of, but grant a rapist authority to say such things as, you won't run into this without actually going through an audition, or bad broad has a sound that's inviting for a lady, and watch communication shift focus on an outfit if it supports logic of victim mutilation. My country has a story that folks know thoroughly. Its narrator is a ghost that haunts what is known as this nation's fantasy. Gawk at its patriotism and show disgust on anything but. Land of a familiar scoop and gossip. Did you know that at 6 p.m. you will catch a holiday singing again and again and again about a black body hanging or falling from Yggdrasil with a tag of unfamiliar fruit, during which most law official gain kudos on a job brought to pass, transforming into indigo agriculturalists with a mission to control what grows on this land and nullify what may turn into a bad batch of crops. If blood sits upon hands, wash thoroughly. Spot crimson plasma fall into the dirt as a cold minority carcass shows striking comparisons to a ghastly animal lying flat on a road thought to obtain unity. My country has a story that folks know thoroughly. Its narrator is a spirit that haunts what is known as this nation's fantasy. Gawk at its patriotism and show disgust on anything but. Land of a familiar scoop and gossip that soon nobody will want to watch or study. Thank you. Woo! I have not read that poem in a while, but yeah, literally had to write that poem. It took me like a couple of days to like go back through it because I found myself writing the poem and then had to re-edit it because I found like words placed throughout. But yeah, so my country story minus E, a poem with words not containing the letter E, which is in anywhere but here. So I'll tell you about that book later. So moving right along, we will keep going. Shout out to Lady Blue in the building. What is going on, Lady Blue? Member of the chapter of Black on Black Rhyme Carolina Back Talk Back fam right there. So moving right along, we're gonna keep it going. We're gonna bring in another poet. This poet is another one of the poets that's recently been coming on here, and it's always awesome to have poets come up, and it's very, 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 very beautiful, and it's a blessing when we have a lot of the youth come up and show their face and do some poetry because one, they're the next in line to take over, and number two, it's one of those things where it keeps us on our toes because you're hearing new voices, and we're going to eventually end up having to slam against them eventually. So coming up next, the one and only, give it up for Cheyenne. Woo!
Hey,
Give it up, give it up. Hey, how are you doing?
good. How are you?
I am great. I am great. So, as much talking as I've been doing already and reading that long poem that had no ease in it, I'm going to jump off real quick, let you do your poems, and then we will get to some questions for you later. But the stage is now yours.
Okay, so this first one is called Aunt Sherry. I can't remember or tell you the first time I met you. I don't even think I was able to read yet, but I know I was old enough to know you were an amazing person. I remember the time I went to the house you and Uncle Bud built for Christmas when I was in 5th grade. While I was outside playing with all the cousins my age, you were on the porch talking. I remember your face well. Your face, a beautiful medium tone, and your features soft. Your hair, a gorgeous dark brown that sparkled in the light. Your laugh so sweet and reassuring, like your voice. When you talked, it sounded as though a chorus of birds was singing a special song that was made just for you. I remember the first time I got social media. I was scrolling through all the people suggested until I spotted your profile. I knew it was you because of your smile. From one little profile picture, it lit up my bedroom like fireworks on the 4th of July. I wasted no time in sending you a friend request and messaging you. We talked for a while, and then I had to go to bed. A few months later, you helped me through the toughest time in my life. I was struggling with who I was, and you helped me restore that. I never got to thank you for that. When you got sick with cancer the first time around, you won the battle, but the second time you fought hard. but it didn't help that you were injecting poison into your body to help, but it just made you weaker than you should have been. It sucked the life right out of you. But Aunt Sherry, you didn't deserve to get sick. The last conversation I remember having with you was by your bedside in your apartment. I was telling you about struggles I was having, and you were giving me advice that I still would use today. I never knew that would be the last time I would talk to you. The cancer continued to spread to different parts of your body. You were weak, but you held on for as long as you could to see your new grandbaby. The smile on your face when you held him was a picture worth 1,000 words. I have never seen such true beauty in my life. I regret not going to see you before you passed, but I didn't expect our time to be cut short so soon. I thought that the world could never be so cruel. It should have never been so cruel as to see your adult son come into the room where your body lay, fall on his knees, and cry on your shoulder beside your bed. It should have never been as cruel as to take you without anyone having a chance to say goodbye and that we love you. When I heard you were gone, all I could hear were screams inside my head telling me it couldn't be true. I sat on the floor in my grandma's kitchen, crying my eyes out, telling myself it couldn't be true. I was in denial, but now I realize that nothing lasts forever. You didn't really die that day. You only left your body behind and free from its hold you left. You rose into the sky where you were greeted with open arms by Uncle Bud and my great-grandma. I miss you, but I know you are no longer suffering. I know that one day we will meet again, but until that day, I live for you, Aunt Sherry, and I use all that you taught me to live in the way that you wanted and to never forget. This next poem I honestly just wrote this one, so I don't really have a title on it yet, so I'm just going to call it Poem of a Mystery. This poem is by a girl that no one will ever read or understand why she wrote it. If you ask her, I'm pretty sure she doesn't even have the answer to why she wrote it. Maybe she just wanted to have fun and express herself through words on the page. Maybe she wanted someone to read it and tell her, great job, it's amazing. Or maybe, just maybe, she wanted to be heard and give people a reason to think, because this is no ordinary poem. This is her words on the page, her words breaking through the ink, her voice spoken loud and not shut out like it always is. This is the poem of her life. This is her story. Her favorite thing to do is to scribble on the page, turning the words into beautiful fantasies. Her words soar on the page from her favorite gel pen, and it paints a picture that she yearns to see. Her message to all set onto the paper perfectly. Life is a story. Record it all while you can before you hit the end. When you hit the end, your story is gone. This is her poem, her story. And most of all, this is me. That little girl that was once here is gone, and she will never return except on paper. Because her story goes on and on every day. She picks up the pen. Thank you.
Yo, that is okay. So you just wrote that today?
Yeah, I wrote it like 10 minutes before the show started.
Wow, that is awesome. So I know you probably didn't see it in the comments. So every time a person tells us that they got a new poem, we go and say
Yeah, I see the brushing.
I couldn't scream it because I would have came all over the thing, and then it would have messed up the whole flow of it. Yeah, definitely get a title for that. That poem's awesome. I'm literally telling you that. Like that poem's awesome, and I think everybody's doing the emojis and everything. They showing the flames and all that good stuff. So it's awesome. So Cheyenne, how have you been? How have you been lately? In your poetic lifestyle, how has everything been for you?
It's been good, honestly.
Nice. So what is it that you love about poetry? Just like we've been asking everybody else, what's that thing that brings out the best? Why does poetry bring out the best in you?
I guess it's just that it helps me express who I am. I love to express who I am through words and stuff. Like, it's always been something that I've been passionate about. Like, I started writing poems in the 6th grade, but I never, like, kept them, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. Like, cause you never know. Cause like normally when you write poetry, I'm just speaking on myself. Like normally when you start writing poems, sometimes like with most of us, unless you like just grew into writing poetry and loving poetry, sometimes it was basically because of a school project. Then you just like
It was
you,
more like I started middle school and then it just kind of fell apart from there.
oh wow. But you end up picking up something that make you pick back up the pen though, kind of. It seems like.
I've kept the pen up since 6th grade.
I love it. I love it. Be confident at work. So with that being said, everybody kind of has a go-to poet. Like I've been hearing like with Liz and with Nick, they said they had their go-to poet and their poems. So is it kind of the same with you? Do you have like a one poet and then you just know their poems, or is it like it just depends? Like
Yeah,
this
I have
poet.
one poet.
Okay, go ahead. Who's the poet?
Emily Dickinson.
Oh my God! I love Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson is okay. I'm fanboying out right now. So Emily Dickinson is one of my favorite poets. I think the one thing that scared me about Emily Dickinson that I end up finding myself doing is the whole fact that she started getting so immersed in her writing because she wanted to write that perfect poem, but nothing was perfect. So she kept writing poems to try to write the perfect poem. And like even to this day, like we as artists, we find ourselves doing that. You have a favorite poem from her?
Oh yeah, I do.
Which one?
Because I could not stop for death.
Nice, nice. I can't pinpoint one. Like I've had a couple, but I can't pinpoint
There's
one.
a lot, but that's the top one right now.
That is awesome. Like Emily Dickinson. Like so you get an extra bonus question because I don't know if I haven't seen it, but I don't know if you've seen it. I want to say it was on Amazon Prime or was it Hulu? They did a show about her, but they kind of like gassed it up a little bit. Have you seen that show?
Not yet.
Okay. I can't remember. It's I know the girl that plays her is a girl that was on Pitch Perfect that's playing Emily Dickinson, but I can't remember her name. But it's a show. It's based on I think it's called Dickinson, I think. But if you get a chance, check it out. We'll converse after I watch it too. But as always, Cheyenne, thank you for coming back. And like I said, once we Apple, thank you. Joe said it's on Apple TV.
Yeah, I don't got Apple TV.
We we can find a way. We can find a way. It's called Fire Sticks, and then I can tell you how to get it open offline. So, but thank you so much, Cheyenne. Hopefully, when we get going back live, I hope to see you in the building. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Yo, this show has been awesome. We've heard dope poets. We had one of our guests in the chat mistake black chocolate for black chocolate. Yeah, it's been amazing. My mom jumped on here. We had people from across the pond on the other side of the world tuning into this show. Um, I think the one thing I will miss once this show, like once we go back to being live, is the fact that we won't have chances like this to interact with people from other parts. But that's not to say that we won't make the show go live when we get back in the building because we can always find a way. So I think that's the one thing I have loved and enjoyed about doing this virtual is just the fact of people tuning in from across the country, tuning in from across the world. But at the end of the day, even if right now I'm not hearing the hand claps and the snaps and everything, just seeing the life that the chat is bringing people has been amazing. So for everybody that's tuned in, thank y'all so much for all supporting these poets and like being their biggest fans and their biggest cheerleaders. So it's been an amazing thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna read one more poem. I'm going to bring in our last open mic artist. And then what I may do is I may keep him on and invite one more artist back on if he's still in the chat, and give the audience a chance to ask some of us seasoned poets some questions, just to just to get it out there. So I'm gonna read one more poem real quick, And this one actually comes from the new book that's out from me, 310. And by all means, I love this book just because of what I was, how it came to be. So, long story short, during one of the writing projects I did for 30 for 30, um, the good friend of mine that I was in a writing group with by the name of Dasana Hanu saw what I was doing with my poems for that month and said, "Hey, I like where you're going with this. Maybe you should turn this into a book." And one thing I hate about Dasana is Dasana always does that tremendously. Like he does that um, a lot. So I made a book called 310, and basically the book is one part one part poetry, one part life hacks. And the life hack is the title and the poem follows after. And I've been blessed to see so many people love the book and purchase the book, not only here locally, but across the country and across the world. It's been a dope thing, and I'm very thankful for everybody that's been supporting this book. So much so that we did a dramatic book reading where I had theater actors from the area actually read my poems in a dramatic way. So, and I'm going to talk about that shortly after I do a poem from this book. So, the poem I'm going to do from the book 310, uh, Poetic Journey Through Life Hacks. Yeah. I'm sorry. I keep saying a lot because I'm just overexcited because of the fact that I love poetry and the fact that everybody is having fun and it's National Poetry Month. It's just a good thing to kick off. So this poem is from 310. Life hack. Any working cell phone, whether it's in service or not, will call 911. A homeless woman hears a young lady's voice sound like a siren. She begins to follow the frightful screams like breadcrumbs. She sees a hooded figure shaking the doll-faced girl as if she was broken. The matron with her torn rags comes from behind a shadowy eagle, mounts him like a Clydesdale and steers her right into a blockade of a police car. The young lady thanks her, then proceeds to ask why she would help her. The homeless lady then tells her about how she compares herself to a cell phone. I may not be in the best of service, but that won't stop me from helping someone when they call for help. She smiles and then walks away. So that poem is from the book 310, A Poetic Journey Through Life Hacks. So it's been like I said, it's been a blessing to be continuously writing poetry and giving out books and y'all giving me ideas for the books and just having that interaction to do everything and try to make it as best as I can if possible. So those three books that I read from, which was 310, also Anywhere But Here, and the Blurred Lines book. Y'all can actually purchase those books on my website. So shameless plug because I never do it, so I just do it today just because National Poetry Month. You just support a poet. If you go to that website right there, poetryinmotionnc.vistaprintdigital.com, you can purchase any of these three books that's on there, and definitely add them to your collection. If you got one, grab you another book. If you want, you got two, but need another one, grab you one. If you don't have any, grab all three, and you'll see a lot of other stuff on there. And as far as when it comes to 310, I'm blessed to say that with 310, we're going to do the dramatic book reading again. So if you are in the Fayetteville area and you would like to come to this show, please mark the date April 24th at 1 p.m. We will be doing 310, a dramatic book reading at the one and only Arts Council of Fayetteville, North Carolina. So we'll be having another dramatic book reading there. It'll also be dope because we're having the same people that cast it for the 310 book reading. That's Ricardo Morgan, that's Sonny Kelly, that's Serena Johnson, and that's Jeremy Feinberg. All these actors in their own right have been doing dope things. Jeremy Feinberg owns Sweet Tea Shakespeare. Serena Johnson has been on stage here at Cape Fear Regional Theater, Gilbert Theater, and she's also done TV shows and commercials. Ricardo Morgan is definitely one of the most well-rounded theater actors here in our area. And Sonny Kelly is like the one man show king of Fayetteville, North Carolina, and all his work is phenomenal. So April 24th from 1 to 3, we'll be doing another 310 dramatic book reading. The special thing with this one is right now we will be having 2 openers. One of the openers for that show will be Yolanda A. Barnes, aka Yogi with 2 eyes, and we'll have another opener announced soon. So if you want to get tickets, you can go to this link if you're in the Fayetteville area, 310poetry.eventbrite.com. Now, the great thing about the ticket is that it's a free ticket. You don't have to pay for the ticket. The reason you have to get a ticket because this is a limited seating event. Even though North Carolina is opening up with some guidelines because COVID, we're still being safe, and it's a private ticketed event. And I believe we only have 7 tickets left before all the spaces are filled. So if you're in the Fayetteville area, go to this site, 310poetry.eventbrite.com. Get your ticket while you can, because once they're done, they're done. There will not be any seating. You can't come there the day of and hoping you can just walk in because it's a private ticketed event and the tickets are free. So you're not paying anything. The only thing you will pay for if you come that day is prayerfully a book to put in your hand. So definitely come out and come support that event. So without further ado, I am going to go ahead and bring up our last artist, last open mic artist for the event. And y'all seen this brother. This brother actually featured on here recently. And it's always glad to have him come back up here to do some poetry and to always talk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quit flapping my gums and I'm going to bring him on the show. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the one and only. Just got done doing a phenomenal show at the Garner Performance Arts Center yesterday. Yesterday on the 1st. So please put your hands together for the one and only Law Bullet. Woo!
Oh snap! We got air horns now.
Well, actually, yeah, my air voice. That's what you
Yeah,
want. I am not making enough money to start putting in my sound effects just yet. But time will tell. Give it time. Give it time. That's what they say. So I'm gonna go ahead and get off of here and let you do your poems, and then we're gonna talk as soon as you're done. All right, brother.
All right.
All right. The stage is yours.
How's it going, everybody? How's it going? Pray you all are doing very fine and great. I have been enjoying myself like the rest of you. So we're gonna jump into this. I'm gonna do 2 original poems, and at the end, I'm gonna read a short poem from one of my favorite poets that helped get me into poetry. But first, here we go. Often I find that I can't sleep, for I am a child of insomnia. Early morning specks in my corneas, approaching twilight. Burning the lantern upon darkest night, I can't sleep. Hunter, hunter, my mind is lurking. Upon waves of Kamehamehas, mentally I am surfing, wishing that I could just drop a spirit bomb on these titans attacking and hit them with a one-punch man. To open the sight my peers be lacking, too many of God's temples be more like shells without the ghost, making them the perfect mechanism for the devil man to play host, while scribbling names upon pages of death notes, in disguise like a butler with a secret that's all black to devour these souls to float, drifting in reality's nightmare at 20,000 feet, while the other avatars playing dumb at the enemy's packing heat. Soon told the bell shall ring, a rapture of people lifted up away from the war zone the morning shall bring. Speaking of war, tongues swing words like swords, speed racing fast lanes to decimate our health, while claiming salvation, yet 2 faces often contradict themselves. So my gear is solid like metal, despite the war they craft, puppeteering like Geppetto, stacking empires like Tetris, while bioshocking the masses with their methods, causing hills to fall. Shh. Silence. Final fantasies, as we awake to find ourselves adrift in boxes like an island, and redemption only hangs with the dead, for the mind sees red. For evil is a resident that we often allow to coax us to bed. Life may not seem long, yet I shall prosper. One with the force, as I journey through this opera, for the afterlife is not my worry. But even late night, I see God despite everything, including my eyesight being blurry, covers kicked off, lifting off into heaven's loft, stepping through the court watched by owls as the one they call Negan dances with Lucille on the prowl. Archangel, I am wreaking havoc. Phoenix risen, no longer burdened by my status. Thought I was a long shot until they learned I am a benefactor. But as opposition overlooked the source of my healing factor. So carrying my faith openly, I do not consider a gambit. Colossus, so comprehend my savior is dynamic. So despite them attempting to slipstream me into a frenzy, spiritually, I have the ability to Professor X them away from me mentally while traveling the outer limits. So call me Law, last name Picard, but I am far from finished. For my Lord has kept me intact, as these journeys spacebound make me an insomniac. That is a poem I entitled Insomniac. And if you recognize anything in there, you know that I'm a nerd. And that poem will actually be in my third book, which actually comes out May 7th. And that book is entitled Breaking the Fourth. I'm very excited about that. There'll be more updates. There'll be more updates coming soon. This is just the beginning. And speaking of books, before Breaking the Fourth comes out, you can still grab a copy of my second book, Anatomy of My Love Poem, on lulu.com. That's LULU.com. This next poem is actually fresh ink. And it's a poem that I've done before the pandemic, but it's one of those type of poems that constantly I'm searching for the perfect form of that poem. I don't know what it's about this particular poem, but it will not let me sleep until I get it down packed the way I want, the way I think it should be, or the way I feel it's trying to speak to me. So, fresh ink. I've been told, oh, I've been told that the punch that hits hardest is a shot that you never see coming. Like the reverberation I never heard arriving, like childhood prematurely snatched away. I've also been told that the past is a harsh teacher as well as a harsher tormentor. Challenge. But understand, chess is a game that I took to at a young age. Checkers was fun, while chess was a different animal altogether. Yet even then, never could I see myself attempting to drown out the cries, just a little elixir to take the edge off. Man takes drink. 8x8 grid, 64 squares total in count. Chess is a strategic game in need of two players. Yet again, challenge. But there is no greater meeting of minds. Compared to the one when a mirror stands before you, reflection is a critic, truly holding back no punches. And I told myself just one, maybe two. Convincing myself that I had control, yet control is an illusion. And it's truly astounding that we do not receive high cholesterol from these tears we shed. Drink takes drink. There are 32 pieces to a set, divided evenly. And the game does not commence until a pawn has been put in play. Agreed. For to be manipulated is quite simple. To gain that sought after checkmates, now that is where the tricky part sits waiting to strike. And it is always waiting patiently, like landmines in an open field, for shortcuts are rarely allowed. And when they do manifest, best believe there is an obstacle lurking. I guess even the manufacturers of this game saw it more compelling to pit two opposite complexions against one another proving even competition is not colorblind. Then again, how would the players know which pieces were theirs? I tell you, we've been taught quite well. Hey, no arguments here. For unity is a very fragile mechanism to come by. And even when it does appear, search for the strings strategically attached, for even oppression comprehends community like devil imbues quoting scripture. Sorrowed man, take another sip while lady sings those blues. I tell you, pain is a wound that inches its knife deeper, and depression is a smoking barrel, constantly emptying its clips. Man takes drink. Drink takes drink. Opposites attract in every aspect of this existence, and not all connections are of a romantic touch. Even though ghosts of yesterday do like to get touchy-feely, always caressing, always searching for another crack in the armor. Sip, my dear. You never know just when reality will strike next. But the past always seeks to collect the receipts that we hold on to. We are a grudge-holding type of breed, aren't we? Man takes drink. Drink takes drink. Pawn to b5. Rook, knight. Protect the king. Always protect the king. Our queens rarely get the flowers they deserve, but often having our backs. Then again, kings are often visualized as lazy. For single fathers rarely get enough gratitude. Yet, as I said before, chess is a game I took up as a child. We're talking 20 plus years of perfecting strategy, only to stumble each time I found myself outmaneuvered. Tumblers have a way of coaxing a sober mind into unhinging itself, especially when stress accompanies silent defeats. Failure comes with the territory of dreamscaping. 1 bottle of beer on the wall, 2 bottles of tears, take going down, it crashes to the ground. Knight to c7. Victory is the mission, while trying to stay sober is the tricky part. Man takes drink, for there is always a hand ready to front the tab. Drink takes drink. And mama always said, never leave your cup sitting on the table, for you never know who may slip a little extra in your bottle. Drink takes man. But you see, chess is a game of strategy. Checkmate. That was Fresh Ink, and I entitled that one, Drinks Over a Game of Chess. Now, if you are looking for me on social media, I'm on Facebook and Instagram as Law Bullock. That is LAWBULLOCK. Once again, you can find my second and my first books on lulu.com. That's LULU.com. And I did not forget, for National Poetry Month, I decided to read a small poem from the poet that got me hooked on poetry in the first place. And that is the always beautiful and lovely Maya Angelou. And this one is called Brief Innocence. Dawn offers innocence to a half-mad city. The axe king, intent of all our days for this brief moment, lies soft, nuzzling the breast of morning, crooning, still sleep besotted of childish pranks with angels. And that is my set. I thank you for tuning in tonight. I had an awesome time, and I pray you had an awesome time. And always remember, love yourself.
Nice, nice. Mr. Law Bullet.
Yes, sir.
First off, happy National Poetry Month.
Same to you. Same. I've been waiting for this month.
You tell us, man. I am extremely busy. Real quick, I could kind of somewhat announce one thing real quick. Shout out to Aaron and that's in the building. Always showing love. I will lay out details later in the year, but me and her, along with another person by the name of Brandy, we got a special project that we're going to be doing very, very soon. I'm very thankful. So I want to give her a shout out because she's one of the dopest supporters here in the city and abroad. I appreciate her. Shout out also to Verse. What's going on, Verse? One of the underrated legends here in the area that used to be in the area now is moving on to bigger and better things. Love you, sis. Hopefully one day we will get you on the show. To drop a poem, whether it be an oldie or a goodie or a new one. So one day we'll get you on here. So, Mr. Law, simple question. What do you love? What do you love about poetry, man? What's that thing that just makes you ooey gooey for poetry? I don't know why it just sounds like that's a good way to ask. I'm sorry. So
Oh man, I think the thing that keeps me ooey gooey about poetry is the way poetry is just very unlimited in the way it can reach. Poetry really has no limits, man. The voice just continues to evolve no matter which poet it is. I love the different variations. I love the different poets, how they're able to put themselves in the poem and keep poetry evolving. I think that's what really keeps me of poetry and why I love it so much, because there's no shackles, there's no limits on poetry.
I love it. I love it. I'm like multitasking. I'm like looking at everybody's comments and trying to comment on comments and put them in the chat box and all that stuff. So of course you said so. It's already gets to give me that Maya Angelou is one of your personal favorites. So and I think you read probably one of her favorite poems that you do that you already done. So it's kind of like I cannot ask the question, but I have to ask again. Do you have any other like favorite poets or favorite poems that stick out?
I would have to say on a more current turn, since the time I've been in the main poetry scene, it would have to be our brother Tavis.
I love it.
And the poem that hooked me was the poem about the heart murmur. That's what hooked me when it came to Tavis, and I heard him first at Marquee Slam in 2014. That's what hooked me as him being one of my favorite poets in the current era and of all time.
That's dope. That's dope. Shout out to Tavis, man. So real quick, I'm only gonna do this for a couple of minutes. I got Law here. I thought Nick was still here because I was gonna bring Nick back on the screen, but I think Nick ended up having to dip out. What I'm going to do is to you, the audience that's here right now, I'm going to open it up for, let's say, about 3 or 5 minutes. And whatever kind of poetry related question you want to ask me and Law while we're on here, feel free to ask that because we may give y'all some insider stuff. It can deal with asking us about the poetry scene here in Fayetteville. It can just deal with us asking favorite poems, favorite, I don't want to say bars, but if you got any poetry related questions, feel free to ask me. I'll bring them up on the screen. And we will both try to answer these questions while we like talk some poetry a little bit. So, so real quick, with National Poetry Month being National Poetry Month the way it is, when it comes to you as a poet, and we can, and by all means, you can feel free to ask me this too, because like I said, I want to open it up for the audience to ask us a question about doing poets because we're both. I can say that we both are. How can I say? No, we're both traveling artists. We both get booked to do events. We host stuff. So of course, I'm not gonna say we're the end all be all to poetry, but I'm pretty sure if they ask us a question about poetry, we can tell them certain stuff. So by all means, audience, think of a question y'all can put in the chat. We'll bring it up. But for you, Law, when it comes to Poetry Month, the 30 for 30, guess the question would be, how do you go about deciding what type of way you're gonna approach 30 for 30? Because not all people go in every year and do like 30 poems. They try to figure out a certain style to do it. So how do you go about that? So like, what's your approach to it?
With me, when I first started 30 for 30, I was doing strictly haikus, and I had not really written haikus. So it's like I always look at it, what can challenge me? How can I expand my take on my ability to write different poems? 'Cause I never like writing the same type of poem. So my first time was haikus. Then last year, I took a note out of your handbook of doing strictly nerd poems, which I would write a
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
which I would write a nerd poem every so often. But last year was the first time I just wrote a cluster of nerd poems, and it helped me construct my third book, which is coming out. But it's always about, what do I not normally do? What do I not normally challenge myself to do? What type of voice do I never look to reach? Like this year, I'm doing 30 poems of my influenced by 30 of my favorite albums from different genres of music. So it's pretty much, how can I actually challenge myself to be better and grow more instead of putting myself in a box.
I like that. I like that.
And,
So,
and now I would like to give you the same question, sir.
ooh, so I'm glad you said that. So, okay, then I'm gonna get to. You got three questions that I'm gonna get to. So yeah, I'm gonna answer the question you did. I guess with me, it's been just trying to do something different and find a way to challenge myself because I think regardless of what people say, writing poems are easy. Regardless of that's my opinion. I think you can write a poem. Like anybody can write a poem. They can sit down, whether it's a cinquain or a limerick or something. Anybody can write a poem. It's easy. The challenge comes when you're trying to when you're trying to do different approaches to it. So, like with me, I want to say when I first started doing the 30 for 30, back when Facebook had notes and they took it away. I hate they did that because now it's hard to get those poems that stuck in the notes. You have to wait till it pops up in your memories now. I used to always do the 30 for 30 and I would always like do different styles. Like I literally like every day will be a different style of poetry. To then it just started becoming more so concepts. So like one year it became the the nerd phase of poems. The other year it became doing DC Marvel poems. The one year it became poems start like last year. What I did so part of the 30 for 30 I did last year. I did Marvel DC poems. So it was 15 poems that was Marvel, 15 poems that was DC. I did, and also during this time, this is where the 90 poems come in for April. On my IG Instagram, I did 36 word stories based on superpowers. So I did 36 word stories on 30 different superpowers. So that makes 60. And then I did the writing group I'm with like Bull City alumni members. I did 30 poems starting with the word before. So it'll be like before the Immaculate Conception of the Fever, before my brother knew that my dream was actually his dream. So it's poems like I found ways to like stretch out the boundaries of like creativity and then try to make, and then of course, make sure the poem is damn good. Cause I don't want to write no, like the title was dope, but the poem's crap. It don't mean that. So like, so I guess it's always just like stretching the boundaries for me. So, so we're gonna get into these questions real quick, and let's see. Mr. Spearwolf, shout out to Spearwolf said, "How has other poets influenced your writing?" I can say for me, it's been a lot. So I'm gonna start with Neil Ray here in Fayetteville. There's not now a lot of these folks will come from Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I'm only gonna name a couple. So with Neil Ray got me to thank you, Quintessential. Shout out to Quintessential. With Neil Ray got me to the point of opening up my mind instead of just writing one type of poem. So I used to be I don't want to say I was a typecast poet, but I used to only write about a couple of things. It was either a love poem, a breakup poem, or a poem that had like some crazy ending that was just like I always wanted to do like a turn, and that was it. But Neil Ray got me to open up my palette more to like everyone, not just my own, like not just writing particularly for a black crowd, writing to everybody. So with the coffee scene, you had that mixed crowd, as with other venues in Fayetteville at the time. It was strictly just a all black audience. But Neil got me wanting to write to everybody. Cartier got me to the point of writing without putting curse words in it or having a cuss word every now and then, and that stretched the writing palette tremendously. Say I can get my point across and not have to say a curse word in it in order for people to listen. And then the Sound of Hanu, of course, got me to the art of storytelling. Blues got me to the point of blues out of Charlotte got me to the point of seeing the way of carrying himself on a platforms more than poetry and doing other stuff. The song does it too, but blues does it so much more like he expands like past poetry. And then Shihan, who I was blessed to meet back when I first started, and I'm good friends with. He always like we was talking, and when I first seen him perform, he told me to never stay consistent to inconsistency. So like all that got me like if all those people, don't people and like a few more, but those are the main ones that got me inspired with the way I write. And then I can't leave out Yogi because Yogi the one that got me inspired to want to be better with stage presence and getting out of Fayetteville to expand my craft and let people see me outside of my city. So, loss on you.
For me, when I first came onto the scene, I was used to strictly performing for church crowds. So my first step out of that circuit was the coffee scene, which of course, like you said, the godfather of poetry here in North Carolina, Mr. Neil Ray. He was the first one to really support me without even knowing me. And then, of course, when I met you, APE, Spirit Wolf, all that coffee scene, back when we used to pack out the coffee scene with poets, artists, rappers, musicians, when you couldn't even find a place on the staircase.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like all that in one on one tiny floor was just so dope that it opened my mind, because I used to either write really short poems or really long poems. And a lot of those poems never had any real direction. So watching you, and then when I started going to the Marquee Slam, when I started going to your Versus show,
I miss Versus.
every poet where they would feature open mic, it's just the stage presence, the stories, putting your own experiences out there on the stage for people to grasp. And then my brother Spirit Wolf with his left field poetry. It all combined on top of what I already had taught my own self. Because where I came from, there were no other poets where I was. I was the lone poet most of the time, where I had to teach myself. I had to pick myself and be determined. So when I met y'all, and every poet I meet now, and every time I get to go out of town, out of Fayetteville, it just continues to influence me to be better than what I was.
Nice. Thank you for that question, Spirit Wolf. I'm trying to figure out the best way to bounce around because we got some good questions. Let's go. We're gonna go. So we got 4 questions. Oh, never mind. I said we had 4 questions, but nope, we got 5.
Oh,
hold up. Got you. Okay, let's go to our sister Verse because this is a very good question that she asked. I'm gonna let you lead off first. Advice for memorizing pieces, please.
Well, first, I'm gonna go off a post you made earlier this week. I actually hate memorizing.
I despise memorizing poems. Like, if poetry was a person, I would want to like. Okay, go ahead.
But it's like they get ready for the GPAC show we did last night. I had to re-memorize a part of a poem that I had not performed in a while. And it's pretty much the fact that I'm stubborn that helps me, because I want to do such a great job, especially when it comes to something that so many people are putting their effort and energy into, that I want to do the best that I can, no matter how small or how big the event or whatever it is may seem. When it comes to memorizing, it's just pretty much repetition. Repetition. The worst. It's pretty much repetition, and I go stanza by stanza, always repetition of the stanza until I can actually say that forwards and backwards in my sleep, and then just building from there. That's really all I can do. That's the only really advice I can give right now, because I hate memorizing so much, but I love having the poem right there to pull the trigger with.
Nice. I think for me, if I say memorizing poem pieces, verse, the biggest thing is okay. So when we all write our poems, this is just an opinion. This isn't law. Not law the person, but like law is it like this isn't the Bible for what I'm about to say. It's just my opinion. So I think as writers, when we write our poems, we already have once we write it, we already have the rhythm, how we want to say it. So that's the first starting point, like knowing the rhythm. I think the easiest part of when it comes to memorizing, it depends on how you write the poem. Like I used to start when I used to write my poems, I used to literally, and I got my old notebook, so I know how I changed from then to now. I used to literally write my poems out like stories, so it'd be like paragraphs. Like I would write three sentences in a paragraph, and then I'll separate it, and then write 3 to 4 sentences in a paragraph, and do it that way. But then I started actually writing the stanzas. So like every time I used to write my poems before I had to change them in the poem, I literally will write them out like they're short stories. So it became easier for me when I started converting them into actual stanzas, and then memorizing stanzas and knowing when I want to have a line break on the stanzas and then go to the next part. Because if you can memorize the stanza, then it's easy to memorize the stanzas and then start going bit by bit. Now there are people I know when they memorize poems, they do it line by line. I can't do that. Like they'll read the first line, then read the first line, the second line, then read the first, second, third, fourth, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. I can't do that. That's too hard for me. So I think doing it as stanzas will be the easiest way. And then once you get it down pat to like stacking on the stanzas and then already knowing your rhythm, everything else just comes into play. And then it just depends on your mindset of how stubborn you are to get the poem done. Memorize. Short story, like short, quick story, and then we'll go to the next question. Like I thought we had an event. I thought I had an event last week that I had to do, and I literally had a poem I already wrote that I was going to memorize for it. I literally got the poem memorized because I wanted to get it done in 2.5 days memorized. Then found out that we were having the event. The event's actually in May, not March. So that was my fault for the mistake. But because of me being stubborn and wanting to get it done, I took the time to go ahead and do a crash course on memorizing it. Sometimes it just depends on your comfort level and how soon you want to get the poem memorized. So I hope that helps in the process. Yeah, let's see. We got Miss Erin saying, how did you get past your self-conscious regarding sharing your work? I did. I had to. I had to because at one point, and this ain't got to be a long answer. At one point, I hated when I would do work, and if people laughed or didn't like it, um, I would get upset. As of now, I take that in because it lets me know if I can write the poem better or if it's just not meant to be a poem that needs to be put on stage. Because everything we write is not meant to be performed. I honestly believe that. That's why a lot of us poets have poems, and those poems that don't do good on stage, we put them in books. So that's normally how it works sometimes. I think my first moment when it affected me was when I did the National Black Theater Festival. It was like maybe 500 people there, and I did a poem, and everybody laughed at it, and I was upset. But from there, I learned that sometimes criticism is a good motivation to write better stuff. So that's how I got over it. Back in, I want to say it was 2010, 2011 when it happened. You got that question, Laura? You good? I mean, you can skip to the next question if you don't want to answer. You don't know.
I can answer this question. I think for me, I always believe in this one thing from the Bible, and that is when you have a gift and you have something that can possibly help someone else in the same situation, it's it's selfish to hide it. So that's one thing I had to do to push myself to start sharing what I wrote. So it's and then just like you, when I start, it's pretty much like you when you said the criticism when you do share your work.
Mm-hmm.
I had to get over that real quick because like I had to understand that one, the poem might not be that good right now if it's meant to be better, and then two, it's like anything in life, you're gonna have criticism. The poem can be good, you can still be criticized for it. So it's like I had to get over that and pretty much just push forward and just realize that this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be sharing what I have on stage, regardless of how I feel about people not liking it, who likes it, who doesn't. And also, if the poem doesn't work on stage and it going in a book somewhere.
I'm telling you, it's the best thing in the world because like I feel like opinion, and then we'll go to the next question because it actually leads to the books. I feel like that in all honesty, some poems are better read than heard.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense to the audience, but that's how I look at it. I feel like some poems are better read than they are heard. So it happens. Like I said, that's opinion. So speaking of which, we got a question from. I'm trying to find it because she just posted it, and it's from Jazzberry Reed. So Jazzberry Reed post the question dealing with books, but we have so many comments that I got to backtrack. There you go.
Mm.
What advice would you give to poets who want to write a book in the near future? This is a very good question due to the fact that both of us are published authors and we both published a couple of books.
Yeah.
I'll let you tackle it. I'll let you tackle this one first. Unless you, I mean, I can. I know. I don't want to make it feel like I was always at it first. It's on you.
I'd rather hear what you have to say first about this one.
Well, okay. So the advice I would give to any poet that's looking to write a book on poems in the near future, the one of the main things is one. I'm gonna try to break it down real quick. Number one, look at the poems you want to put in the book and make sure you have an idea for the book. That's like a gimme. Two, unless you trust your own eye, which sometimes we should not when it comes to editing poems, because sometimes as poets we can write some dope stuff, but a lot of us poets can misspell words and like think too fast. Have you a person that you can trust or find you a good editor for your poems, because sometimes your book will have so many grammatical errors it'll hurt somebody's head. Trust me, I've done that before with my own book, so I know. Proofread yourself, proofread your books, but the main thing is when it comes to poems, no poems you put in there have an order of how you want your poems, so that way it fits the idea. But the main thing, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. Number one, look into if you're trying to go through a publisher print or if you're self-publishing, because those two things are not the same. Because if you're trying to go through a publisher and the publisher is handling the rights of everything like that, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're self-publishing, then you need to look into the sites that you go through when it deals with self-publishing. My first book I did with Author House, and for Author House, I paid at the time $899 to publish my first book through Author House, and the royalties I got back did not equate to the money I put into my book. Because for a book that cost $10, my royalties was only 206 for my royalties. So they basically were getting like 80% of the book, and I only got 20% royalties. And like everything I do, every book I've done up to now has been through Lulu, and I like Lulu because with Lulu, the cost of getting the book isn't a lot, as far as like as an author when you're ordering the book. But then even the difference between the royalties you get is big. It's a big gap. It's a big difference between what I was getting with Author House, and then they're free. So you only get all you gotta do is submit your stuff, and then everything else is taken care of. Now, I heard that like Amazon has a good publishing print too. Everybody has their own different opinions on how they do their books. I know with me, it was basically just who would treat me better. And then marketing, guys. You gotta market your book because you can't come out with a book and then expect it to sell like that. You have to market your book because your book is your baby. Your book is your brand. You have to know what markets is going to buy your book. You have to spend money to make money. I am telling y'all that now. So if you are going to write a book, do not go into writing a book without having some type of plan together because your book, you may get a couple of people that's going to buy your book that you know. Everybody, also, that's another thing you got to be prepared for. Everybody that loves your work, that's your friends. This is not talking bad about them. It's just that all your friends are not going to buy your books. Like
Yep.
you may have maybe 30% of your friends buying your book at the time it comes out. Some may get it later in time. I'm just telling y'all that so y'all can be prepared. But you need to know how to market. You need to have money to the side for marketing. If you got friends in high places that can set up book signings for you, do book signings. If you know of any book festivals, go to book festivals. Spend the money to make the money. Book festivals will give you more visible light. Um, if you can find a site that's doing free reviews or anything like that, get somebody to review your book. The good and the bad, take it. It's just making everything visible for you, and just go from there. So that's all the advice I can give. I mean, it's a lot more, but I would have to do a lunch and learn for y'all to like go through the whole process. That's like a quick crash course, but I can tell y'all more about it. But maybe I'll do a lunch and learn one day on here. Go ahead,
I,
Ron.
I believe you got the pretty much the gist of that question done. There's nothing else I can add right now.
But I mean, I'll say this, but you can tell them from this aspect of you because I know like even though we've done events together when it comes to us doing book signings and everything of that nature, you've also had your share when it comes to marketing your book and how you market it. So your approach to marketing may be different from my approach, and you may give them you can give the people a whole other insight of how you do your stuff. Because I'm not going to I'm not going to sit here and say your marketing is not a part of mine because your marketing plan is different from my marketing plan, and I can learn from you too. Like just because I have more years in the game, don't mean that I can't be above reproach and learn it. Like there's no glass ceiling for me. I'm here to learn from any and everybody, regardless of the time that's in the game. So
Okay, well,
let's see. And,
for
and
me,
talk your stuff. Talk your stuff, Law. You earned it. Talk your stuff.
when it comes to publishing a book, like you said, it's all about who's going to treat you better. And I had to ask you when I first did my first book, who do you think will do best by me, such as royalties, because royalties is important. And then when it comes to putting the book together, it's all about what voice do you want your book to have? Which poems are you willing to put out there in the public square? Also, what story are you trying to tell with your poems? And also, it also goes into the construct of your book. And when it comes to marketing, for me, my first book, I really didn't get that much marketing done. I think I was more happy to actually be a published author. For the second book, though, it took me a year to put that together because I wanted that book to do so well because it's actually more of a story and a concept when it comes to the anatomy of my love poem. So I would just push it. I did Facebook paid ads. I would, when I was at open mics, I would market the book with me. I would constantly just flood my Facebook and Instagram with posts like, hey, this is happening. This is coming out. You can get it from this website. You can get it from me physically. I can mail it to you. Hit me up. I market what I'm still expanding my marketing abilities right now. So with this third book, I'm expanding still. And I have a month to work with. So I'm really trying to hit it hard this month. So I'm still expanding my scope on marketing. I want to go further. Because even though it's not about the money first, still you want your stuff to do well.
At the end of the day, as an artist, especially with those poetry, because that was the last question. But I know I'd have to say this because you hit it. You said something, and it's always been that thing that I think a lot of us deal with. We always talk about we don't want to make sure we sell out our art, but when your art basically becomes your profession and your business, you have to make money to stay afloat. So like at the end of the day, it's not so much you're selling out, is that your dream is your profession now. Like you have to make sure to do this. So like I said, if you put the money in and the time to publish a book, by all means, you want the book to sell well and you want it to do good. Now, granted, if it comes to you want to donate books, by all means, donate books. I mean, we all can do that. Like when it comes to our work, we can always take the time to donate and give back to the community. But at the end of the day, too, this is your job. So I mean, no, you can't live off love. I mean, love is good, but you can't live off of it. Love don't pay the bills. I mean, like I said, you can't hit up the electric company, the water company, and your landlord talking about, hey, I ain't got no money today, but can I pay you in love?
Come on, man. I got hugs for days. Come on. I should keep it
come on. Take this Christian sign hug for good faith. I mean, just so. Oh man, Lord, thank you for staying on, and I'm glad that people ask those questions. I hope me and Law gave y'all some like type of poetry insight. Y'all ask some good poetry related questions, especially when it comes to publishing, especially when it comes to poets and poems that inspired us. I hope we did y'all questions justice. So, I want to thank everybody that tuned into our open mic tonight. There was a dope open mic. As you guys know, this show is definitely going to be on our YouTube channel because YouTube does have this show, so you can look up Art Meets Life, and this show will pop up, and y'all see all the past events we have. As of right now, guys, I can't tell you if this is going to be the official last virtual one. I will let y'all know soon when that will be because I'm pretty sure we will be opening back up soon. I appreciate that, dude. I'm surprised you did not ask to get put on here because it's not like you don't host dope events in your area too. Like you're not a known poet. Next time, I'm gonna get you on here. Next time, I'm gonna have to hit you up so you can get you on here to do some stuff. But yeah, it's been dope. It's been a dope night. Like I said, it's National Poetry Month. I love hugs. Hugs is good. Hugs don't pay bills though. So, but for everybody's poets and that's trying to do the 30 for 30, it's not too late. There's only the second. You still got time to catch up. If you're gonna do the challenge, remember 30 poems in 30 days. Get to writing and doing those poems. Like I said, I definitely want to thank everybody that was on here. Also, I'm gonna just reiterate it one more time. The first book I read from today, from Tavis P. Brunson, God rest his soul. If you want to get the book Love Tavis, please go to www.amazon.com, type in Love Tavis by Tavis P. Brunson. You can purchase the book there. If you guys want to support from any of the 3 books of mine that I read, you can get those on my website at poetrynmotion.nc.vistaprint.com. And if you are in the Fayetteville area and you want to see stage actors read poems from 310 doing a dramatic book reading, if you're in the Fayetteville area, you can go to 310poetry.eventbrite.com and get your ticket. I looked at it when we was up here. We only have 7 free tickets left. Like I said, it's a free ticket, but it's I don't want to say secret event. It's not a secret event because everybody knows about it. It's a private ticketed event. The tickets are free, so it's free to get in, but the only way you can get in, you have to get a ticket, and we only have 7 tickets left. So if you're in the Fayetteville area and you're watching this is probably the good time to get the ticket. Do not wait to the last minute thinking, oh, I'll wait to the 24th. because after those 7 tickets are got, that's it. Unless we decide that they give us more cap on the space to open it back up for a few more tickets. But the only way you'll be able to get into that event, you have to have a ticket. So this is the chance to grab that ticket right now if you're watching and you're in the Fayetteville area to come on out and enjoy a good event. And once again, we got Yogi with 2 eyes opening up, and we're gonna have one more opener who will be announcing soon. So, Law, once again, thank you. You wasn't featuring, but thank you for staying home with me so we can talk poetry to the people. And it was a blessing. But other than that, guys, we love y'all. Please be safe. Also remember, guys, I know y'all been seeing it for the past couple of months, but that's because we have certain stuff planned. We do not have Art to Heart this month. We picked back up doing Art to Heart in May, where we'll be featuring painter, illustrator Samad Wilson from the Fayetteville area. The event's from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Jazz. I'm gonna put the link back up real quick so you can see. If you go to that link, the information is all on that link. So if you jump on that link real quick, you can grab your ticket. But the event starts at 1 p.m. and it ends at 3 p.m. So grab your ticket from there, 310poetry.eventbrite.com. Of course, I'll be there. I am doing very minimum poems. I'm not doing I'm like probably doing 1 poem, maybe 2. But everything else is gonna be done by some dope stage actors. You do not want to miss that event. I think that's it. That's all I got. So love y'all. Once again, hope y'all celebrate National Poetry Month. Even if you don't write poetry, what I would suggest is go on YouTube and look up some dope poems. You can go on Button Poetry, Right About Now Poetry, All Deaf Poetry, Poetry Slam, INC, Slam Find, or just type in spoken word and poems will just pop up out of the woodwork, old and new. So other than that, guys, that's all I have. And we are done. I got a tune in my head. I don't even know I'm rocking it. Y'all, none of y'all can hear it. So, all right, y'all. Y'all take care. Peace. And we love y'all. Later. Always remember, purpose of popularity. Take care, guys. Peace.